Good afternoon, YouTube. So today is a follow-up from last night's casting. We're going to be doing an outdoor casting today. It's 2:37 p.m. on Sunday, May 24th. And I'm pretty excited about this casting because two things. I have not seen this piece for probably close to a decade and a half, if not a little bit more. Normally, I only cast one edition of my medium to larger sculptures. Sometimes I cast more than one of the smaller pieces, and this I would consider a smaller piece, but the main reason I'm casting it is that the bronze is in someone else's home. It's been purchased a long time ago, and I want to be able to video record it and share it with the world as a kind of a legacy gesture. And ultimately, on a side note, there's going to be another casting of an additional piece in pewter that is also bronze in someone else's home, because I gave it to a friend as a gesture. And that one I want to also record and put on my YouTube channel. So ultimately, most of the original family is on a shelf behind me, and although they're available, they have been ultimately videoed, and I feel like I'm in good standing with having their presence on a video recording intentionally shared on this channel. So today I'm going to be taking the original mold, which is, I believe I created it in around 2014, 2015. So the mold is about a decade old, and yet the silicone is in perfect shape. And I keep these molds in not cold storage, but protected from the elements. They're not like in a shack being rained on and where moisture and other phenomenons are influencing their aging process. So I baby these molds, and even molds that I'm not going to use anymore, I still keep them as archival as I can. And this is called Ecstasy of a Newborn. Another advantage in seeing this piece in a way for the first time, because although I've seen it in bronze, bronze, by the time you get through the lost wax process, the ceramic shell investment, the burnout, all the processes to get a bronze of a wax original, you get a piece at the end that is 10 to 13 or 14% smaller in scale than the original. That's just how things are in the bronze industry. You can't avoid shrinkage because of the lost wax process. And with casting pewter, there is no lost wax process. I cast directly into the mother mold, and that's with and without cores. So the smaller pieces, I don't make cores because it's just not feasible, and in many cases, not possible. And all the bronze sculptures of the original family are also solid. So this piece will be solid. I'm going to cast it today, videotape it. I have yet to order wireless mics, which I'm most likely going to be doing today. And so it's going to be a little bit of piecemeal, where you're going to see me on the camera. I'm going to switch over to the other dual cam screen, and you're going to see me doing things, but you won't hear any audio. And I'll come back in and I'll explain some things, and then I'll bring the piece into the studio, or maybe I'll break it out outside and then I'll bring it in and show it to you on the camera that's filming me right now. So just bear with me. Just know that this is a young channel, and I'm doing all I can to have a homogeneous system. But in the meantime, I want to encourage people. I want to create videos. I want to spark interest. And so these sort of process evolving stages videos are just simply what they are. And yet you'll still get to see something you've not seen before. So there is some kudos involved. So without any further delay, I'm going to switch over to the large screen. Not that one, this one. So ultimately, you have the sand is in the white container is sand I'm going to use to put around the mold once I invest it in the black container that I'm going to submerge the mold down inside of once I band it, etc. The crucible is to the left, and you have the slag container from last night that I get the top part off. I'm going to adjust the camera just a touch. So there you can see the kind of rainbow iridescence of the hot molten pewter, and it's ready to go. I've got my ladle, I've got my talc, and let's see what we can do. I'm going to grab my gloves and then go outside and do this. I'll be right back. So I've got my gloves and I've got my full face shield. Ventilation's fine because it's outdoors. And just keep in mind, always safety. Goggles, not glasses. Deerskin gloves that fit really well. No 1 inch or ½ inch of loose material hanging off at the edges of your fingertips. If heavier gloves are needed, it's always good to have one pair of good form-fitting gloves made of leather that are for handling more finite things, and then heavier gloves for situations where you might need them. And that might be breaking out a piece. Normally I would wait for about maybe 10 or 15 minutes to break out a sculpture, which I'll probably do today. But for smaller pieces, they can be broken out within 3 to 4 minutes. Pewter crystallizes, so to speak, solidifies quite rapidly. So again, safety. Make sure that your mold has no moisture in it whatsoever. Moisture is the enemy. And I'll get into a few more technical things, but you want to be very intentional with your mold and make sure, and I'll get into the mold technology at some point. All of this is contingent on understanding the system of casting that I've developed. So don't go out, get silicone that will not work with this process and try to cast into it, because you may have a very dangerous situation on your hands. So remember, all this stuff is not right out of the box. There are prerequisites that you need to know for this system of casting to work. How to apply the silicone, what kind of silicone to get, curing time, application of applying it, like how to apply it, layers, preparation of the original artwork, again, curing time, and the plaster shell, what kind of plaster, precautions to take, preliminary things to do. So pewter, molten pewter cannot be cast into just any kind of silicone or rubberized mold material. There is a specific kind of silicone that will work. And if you do want to experiment, you want to experiment outdoors, fully in protective clothing, maybe with a fan blowing away from you, in case something happens where it creates a lot of smoke. You want that smoke going away from you. And you want to do something very, very small, like the size of a quarter or maybe a dollar bill, like something very small that you just take a teaspoon of molten pewter and you pour into it and see what the mold's response is to that molten material, whether it self-destructs or whether it remains dense and can withstand the temperature and will hold its form. So I have molds that I've cast, like the toad mold I've cast probably 10, maybe 15 times into it, and it still turns out pieces that look like the first time I cast into it. So with red casting sand, go for it, because it's been a tried and true material. It will withstand molten pewter. But with the silicones and the rubberized materials out there, not all of them can take molten pewter. So just keep that in mind. So let's do this. I'm going to leave this little screen area and go outside and pour this piece. Now I can't see what the video is recording, because one, the video camera is on the inside of my studio pointing out the door onto the ground. So I can't see the screen because I have a rig that the camera is mounted to that won't allow me to turn the screen facing me. So hopefully this configuration will give you a decent idea of what I'm up to, at least on a small sculpture scale. And thank you again for watching and for supporting the channel. Okay, so I'm back, and let's see where things left off. So there's a few things that I need to refine, and of course that's when my computer automatically has a kind of a blackout screen because there's no activity, no cursor movement, and I need to disengage that because I'm not sure, but it may pause the recording of the video. Although we're 23 minutes in, hopefully that's all been recorded and the piece has been poured and is now cooling off, and I'll speak a little bit about some other things while we're waiting for that to cool down. So pewter is an extraordinary medium for sculpture and craft as well. And of course, it has a long history with like fantasy miniatures, souvenir kind of things, craft-oriented materials, but not so much in the fine art realm, if any at all. Ultimately, it's 2,000 plus years old as far as a casting medium. So it's been around, and yet it has more of a utilitarian reputation, and I aim to change that. I've done very large pieces, cast in pewter, ultra detailed, and you'll see some of those on this YouTube channel. Mostly they're semi-large, but the larger pieces I've yet to show on the channel for the most part. Dragonfly's Dream is, I believe, on this channel, but further back in the archives, and a short video. That's probably the largest piece that I've done in pewter. Which required, I think, about 13 molds to ultimately bring that piece to its full composition. So I'm going to wait a little longer and go out and break this piece out. One thing I like about it is it's very user-friendly as far as going back and changing things, adding on, taking off. It's very malleable, and you can also add alloys to pewter to make it more brittle or have the tensile strength be a bit stronger. Which might be appropriate for like jewelry size things or things that are very delicate. And yet, at the same time, if something falls or gets hit, it might be better that it bends than breaks. So just something to think about. The sculptures that I do, I've never had any issues around that. Weight is probably one of the bigger issues. These pieces are quite heavy. Some of them are impractically heavy on one level. But at the same time, if you consider a lot of public sculptures, they need forklifts and cranes to be placed. Something weighing 60 or 80 pounds or 100 is not that out of the ordinary in the sculpture world. So ultimately, you should only be moving a piece of sculpture once a decade, or maybe just once a lifetime. So it's not like something you're going to be carrying around. You put it where it needs to be, and it stays ultimately. And of course, you could always have a pedestal that rolls, that has like a low profile set of wheels that that lock, and you could do something like that. But that would be a custom. That would be a custom pedestal. So I'm just having faith that that the video recorded, and I'm going to go out and I'm going to break this out and show it to you. Thank you for being patient and hanging in with me today. So we're still recording, and there's Ecstasy of a Newborn. So that piece is still about 250 degrees. So I won't be picking that up and carrying that inside. But I did do a complete rotation of it. Hopefully the camera caught that. And the piece turned out perfect. No air bubbles. One thing I did not remember is that a part of the mold does get trapped inside the wax when making the wax for the bronze. And what I probably did was I cut the wax legs to take out the inner part of the mold, the silicone. And then once the mold is void again, I reinsert that piece with a couple small pins to keep it in place, so that when I pour anything molten back into the mold, it wraps back around that piece that's held in by pins. And if it's wax, I can cut those appendages, remove them, remove the silicone again, attach those wax pieces and blend them back in. So there are a few sculptures that I have to do that with. But this piece, since it's metal and I won't be cutting it, the mold will most likely be there's probably going to be some destruction involved because that mold is not going to come out of there like it would if I could cut it out of the wax. But that's okay, because ultimately my general rule is one of one. As far as most sculptures, I would say 99% of my sculptures are single editions, maybe 99.5. And this piece is simply so that I can have it to make a legacy video of, and I'll put a beautiful dark patina on it and keep it with the original family. And yet the status of the bronzes are still what it is. There's only one edition of the bronze editions. So that has not changed and will not change. And I'll do this process with one more piece. And then that's it. There's about 12 or 13 members of the original family. And this is Ecstasy of a Newborn. I'll go out and test the temperature. We'll see. Maybe I can bring it indoors and go to the big screen and give you a closer look at him. Sorry for the camera bump. Things are really gypsy this morning or this afternoon. So he's still pretty piping hot, but I think I'll be able to endure it. I'm going to switch over to the big screen. And since the camera's in the mood for focusing on me, let's see what it does with the piece. I think he turned out really, really well. As I say, absolutely perfect epidermis situation. No bubbles, solid through and through. And as a little gift to me, this is the first time I've seen it 1-to-1 scale. Very different vibe. Let's see. And see, you can see the mold material there in the middle. There's some organic material there too. And I'll be able to get that out of there pretty successfully, but I'm not sure how it's going to hoo-wee. That's hot. So look for a video called Ecstasy of a Newborn. I'll have that out on the channel. And I think that's going to be it for today. Back to back from last night to 40 minutes today. We're making art over here. So my website is down in the description. I have a storefront there. I also have an Etsy storefront, but ultimately I encourage people to visit me through my Studio Direct storefront. And of course, there are pieces that have not been cast in pewter that can be, that are on the homepage of my website. If anyone's interested in those, commissions within reason. And then I invite, of course, comments, suggestions, and please feel free to like and subscribe, share the channel. And once again, thank you very much for your support and patronage.